Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In this webinar, we will talk about 8 keys to a successful DevOps transformation. My name is Coco Lee. I am the marketing manager of DASA. I will be your host and moderator of today's webinar. If you have any questions during the webinar, please put your question in the question text box on the right side of your screen, or put them in Twitter and use the hashtag DASAchat. We will follow them up. I'm so pleased to be joined by Sam Rosbergen, Enterprise DevOps Consultant at Brunel. Hi, Sam. Would you please take a moment to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Coco, for the introduction. My name is Sam Rosbergen. I have been an IT manager in changing organizations for over 12 years. And when I start working somewhere, I get to know the processes, the people, and the tools, and I start to create efficient workflows and improve productivity. I create lean workflows and improve collaboration between project and support organizations. And DevOps to me really combines the best of lean, agile, and team working theories. And I'm very happy to be a part of this movement, and I hope to contribute something valuable. I've tried to find 8 different ways to prepare for a sustainable DevOps transformation, and I will provide some examples and tips during the presentation. Having said that, let's get to it.
Thank you, Sam. For those of you who join us for the first time, let me do a quick introduction. DASA is an open source association that has built a competence model and accreditation scheme for DevOps training and certification. We are an open and independent association that is working with more than 300 partners that include training and consulting companies, corporates, ambassadors, and content development teams. Organizations use the DASA model and instruments and work together, further enhancing these instruments to support DevOps journeys of organization. Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
So the agenda is: why would you need DevOps, preparing for DevOps transformations, designing the DevOps transformation, and the conclusion. So let's start with why your organization would need DevOps in the first place. In both businesses and in personal life, it's very important to determine why you are doing the things you do. Why are you raising your kids a certain way? Why do you date certain people? Or why do you work at your current job? It's all about getting to know yourself better. This is a good starting point to improve yourself, and you can apply this to relationships and your work environment. Because I strongly believe in leading by example, I'll share with why I want to do this presentation. I love improving myself by listening and learning from everybody around me. And I also get a lot of energy from sharing my experiences. I get a kick out of doing presentations and triggering people to think and interact on a subject. And in the end, I hope this presentation helps you understand the need for DevOps, and hopefully I will have provided some useful tips and tricks to help you on your DevOps journey. Starting with why is also very important before creating a product or doing a transformation. Why do you want to introduce a DevOps way of working in your company? Management should be able to communicate the goal of the transformation. Creating a clear strategy and a strong purpose all starts with defining the why. And Simon Sinek has written a great book on how to define and communicate the why of your actions. And I highly recommend using these methods to define the needs for DevOps in your organization. Simon also created the golden circle, and it shows how our brain works in a simple way. He mentions that successful companies focus on the why of delivering their product. I believe this way of thinking can also be used for any transformation, personal or organizational. You could say the why determines the why you need the transformation, while how describes the steps needed to get to the new version of the organization. The what can be translated to the tactical operational side of the transformation, both on the employee part as well as the technical part. So why would you need DevOps? In today's world, almost everybody expects their products to be available and ready to perform. Whether we're talking about the availability of supermarkets that have extended opening hours, or expecting that your payment app works at night. And how is this achieved? High-performance organizations need to promote innovation and creativity, collaborate more efficiently, and create the technical capabilities by implementing continuous integration and delivery tools. This often results in higher employee engagement, increased resource efficiency, and in the end, an improved time to market. After determining the why of the transformation, it's time to prepare. You can use COMS for this. COMS is a conceptual framework and describes 5 pillars of any successful DevOps transformation. Before you start a DevOps transformation, it's very important to realize the impact of such a transformation. The COMS framework is a good way to start realizing what is required for the transformation. Let's start with culture. On the Wikipedia page, culture is described as a social behavior and norms found in human groups. Creating a successful culture change starts with changing behavior. And behavior is influenced by show and tell. The teams aren't the only one needed to make a DevOps transformation successful. Management is required to stimulate teams to become self-sufficient and help them perform. There are now a gazillion types of tools that can help automate IT work. When management provides time and funds to experiment with these new technologies, entrepreneurship is stimulated. Automating repetitive work is not only resource efficient, it is also more secure, and it allows for faster delivery of products. More importantly, it leaves time for creativity. Much has been said about Lean and its principles. To me, Lean is about creating more efficient processes and less documentation. It's all about Kaizen, the Japanese word for continuous improvement. Teams and management should both strive to learn and improve efficiency every day. Because of my background as an operation manager, I'm a huge advocate of measuring all relevant sources. If you do not establish a baseline of the thing you're trying to improve, you can't compare it to anything and you cannot improve. Having said that, reports and dashboards should not be used by managers to provide a stick to beat their employees with. Managers should use the reports to start open and honest discussions about helping teams to perform better. Creating real-time insights into the usage of your product should be used to create faster feedback loops, which in the end improves the quality of the product. And this will also dramatically reduce your mean time to repair when faced with issues. Yet another important part of any transformation is sharing. Sharing of knowledge between developers and operation engineers is key for the improvement of the team, but sharing across teams should also be stimulated by management. This can be done by reserving time for learning, allowing the team members to visit events, and enabling the members with a platform to share their knowledge. Sharing implementation successes should be stimulated, and communicating with teams within the same department or teams that have dependencies should also be done on a regular basis. After going through all DevOps-related articles, webinars, and event information, I felt like I was missing practical information about the flow of a DevOps transformation. So I created this overview for myself as a reference based on my experience. To me, it shows practical steps to implement different parts of the COMS framework. So determining if DevOps suits your company starts with looking into the COMS framework. It can be used as a checklist and a reminder what is needed for a successful transformation. As part of the COMS framework, culture is a very important piece of the transformation. Creating the right DevOps culture starts with these questions. What are the core values that each team needs? What are the key competencies that the team members need? And what are the processes that the teams need to adhere to? And what has changed when starting to work in a DevOps way? Management needs to envision the future state. They need to translate the why of the transformation into how it should be done, and that's very difficult. Again, open and honest communication helps. If you're halfway through your transformation and you get feedback from the teams that the transformation would be more successful with a few adjustments, there is no reason why you should not adjust the transformation requirements. Experimenting, allowing for fast feedback, and being transparent about the transformation process and the progress is also part of a successful transformation. Designing the roadmap translates to the what of the transformation. What are the steps needed to reach the future state? This focuses on both the people part of the change as well as the required tooling to enable the transformation. So, what needs to be changed? Again, the COMS framework can help determine the different gaps between the current organization and the desired end state. This part of the transformation is done by management. The following parts of the presentation are the operational side of the transformation, and they can roughly be translated into the how of the transformation. It helps a lot to reorganize your teams logically. Teams that work on the same sort of products or provide services to the same consumer group should be grouped together as much as possible. This helps with creating a leaner organization. Replacing legacy systems with modern technology is a must to allow for faster deployments and better integration of new tools. It's important to implement tools that help you automate your CI/CD pipelines. With automated testing, real-time monitoring, and automatic ticket generation, the quality of services and response times also get better. It helps a lot to form a transformation team that focuses solely on driving the transformation. They can assess the maturity of the teams, support management, and provide transparent dashboards for the whole organization. The DASA competence scan can help you determine the needed skills of the teams, as well as the individuals of the team. And after implementing all these steps, the most important step is measuring the success of the teams and the transformation. Again, it is important to be transparent about the progress the teams make and sharing both their transformation experiences as well as their technological successes. For instance, sharing information about a team that was the first team to successfully deploy an application to the cloud environment, or a team that successfully implements parts of a CI/CD pipeline. Again, to determine if DevOps is right for you, you can use the COMS framework as a checklist to determine what areas you need to focus on for a successful transformation. If you have an environment where mainframes are still being used, implementing DevOps can be tough. Mainframes are often difficult to add to automated CI/CD pipelines, and they generally do not allow for fast deployment of software. If your suppliers are responsible for managing legacy systems, getting access for your own engineers might be impossible. Traditional IT contracts simply aren't built to enable DevOps. Both your organization and the suppliers need to adapt and create contracts that allow for a DevOps way of working. And in the end, it's wise for management to create a business case. How much will moving from mainframes to cloud cost? And will the increased speed of delivery justify the investments? While DevOps works in an agile way, it is still bound by rules and regulations. Investments for both the new technology as well as the organizational shift needs to be financed, and in the end, the regulators will always still need their auditable evidence. How would you create a right DevOps culture? Management needs to create a breeding ground for creativity and collaboration, but going through a DevOps transformation is going to take investments of both time and money to reorganize and create the needed IT architecture. DevOps transformation takes time before the desired speed of delivery and stability can be achieved. Cost saving is definitely not the initial goal. Management needs to realize this very, very important fact. IT is disrupting every business on the planet, and for some sectors like banks, it is vital that new technology is embraced. Collaboration and innovation needs to be stimulated. And if you do not adapt, your company gets replaced by companies that are more creative, more agile, and have a faster time to market. To ensure maximum adaptation by the teams, I suggest reserving at least 10% of the backlog space to enable the transformation of the teams. If you communicate this as a leader to both businesses and teams, to both the business and teams, they will have achievable goals and less stress from the business complaining about the velocity of the team. Gemma walks are management visits where management directly talks to the different teams. This way, you get very important information. You might get very important information from the teams, which might not have been communicated otherwise. For instance, information that would have been lost across the chain of command. To ensure you get honest feedback from the teams, you need to be open, honest, and available as a leader. So what is DevOps culture then? DevOps starts by removing the boundaries between the developers and the operations engineers. Placing these two roles in one team increases knowledge sharing and removes unnecessary handovers. The team is responsible together for developing and supporting the product that the team delivers. Management can help by cultivating a culture of continual experimentation and learning. The term that is often used to describe this is fail fast and fail often. This does not literally mean you should break everything you make. It just means you are resilient when incidents occur and handle the issues in a fast way. Being open to receiving and providing feedback and learning from operational mistakes will in the end result in faster recovery when things break. In comparison, traditional IT has more silos, more authorization steps, and stricter controls, and this severely restricts delivery speed and creativity. So how do you promote DevOps culture? There is a difference between Agile and DevOps transformations. You could possibly start working with Scrum today during a project, but you can't start DevOps in the middle. DevOps needs the strategy first and the technical capabilities to perform. If you look at the differences between Agile and DevOps, to me, Agile is more a process way of working, and DevOps, to me, again, is the technical enabler of Agile-minded businesses. At DevOps companies, we're used to doing iterative chunks of code, and the same goes for DevOps transformations. You need to take little steps, get the feedback, and then continue on. And the governance and management structures need to be changed to support self-organizing and cross-functional teams. And without this, it is impossible to move to a DevOps way of working. Without a solid business case, your transformation might be terminated quickly. It's very important to not only promote the cultural part, but also the cost effectiveness of a DevOps transformation. This way, management will be more willing to support the complete transformation. When transforming an organization, you need to formulate the minimal viable organization and the desired end state. And your vision, mission, and goals need to align business wants and needs with IT delivery. Now that you have defined the short and long-term goals, you need to figure out how to get there. Defining the minimal viable situation for these three fields: the people, the processes, and the tools. Creating a dedicated DevOps transformation team helps with promoting DevOps and communicating transformation successes. And like the technical side of DevOps, the cultural side also needs continuous improvement. When management supports learning and allows for a safer working environment, the success of the transformation increases dramatically. It makes no sense to try and become a DevOps organization when your own teams are still split between operations engineers and developers. Creating a true DevOps team includes the input from the business through the PO role and ends when the life cycle of the product ends. creating an environment where teams can be self-steering while also maintaining the boundaries that your organization has. When your organization has a lot of suppliers, integrate those into the teams and provide them with the same conditions as your own personnel. Otherwise, you will restrict their learning capabilities and in the end, their ability and will to innovate. And finally, organize your teams on the same product line or technology to create better understanding between the teams and minimize handovers. If you force two teams that have no connections to each other to work together, you are severely hindering your own reorganization. By creating microservices, you reduce the impact of failures. If only a small part of a service goes down, the time needed to fix issues decreases a lot. Your organization needs to be ready to test and release code quickly to enable the DevOps way of working. This increases efficiency and allows for faster time to market. Collaboration tools help the teams to learn from each other faster and increase communication speed. While I would always promote face-to-face communication to tools, it also helps to solve issues quickly if parts of your teams are in different locations. Everything must be automated and monitored so faster feedback can happen. This is vital to the DevOps way of working. For instance, automated monitoring can send automated incidents to the correct solution team, which saves a lot of resolution time. When assessing DevOps maturity, there are many tools and reports you can use. For instance, you can use the DASA competence scan and the competence model. Both will show you what DevOps skills are lacking in the teams, and this focuses on the people skills part. With the puppet report, you can compare your own organization and create improvements from there, and this report focuses on the technical part. And of course, you can create your own measurements of maturity, like how much downtime do our deployments create, or how many incidents are reported per month. I believe ITIL and DevOps can live together. For instance, in the Agile way of working, there are spikes. These are issues that require more investigations or sprints to solve. You can link spikes to ITIL problem management. Change management can still be done even if you automate your releases. Registering change approvals can be vital to your audit requirements. I've already mentioned issue solving a lot. DevOps teams still need to create their own response processes while also adhering to the company rules and regulations. In the end, documentation is still important, whether it's technical documentation or registering changes. If you do not register your change and you leave the office, your colleagues will not know where to start looking when incidents occur. Creating standard dashboards will help teams with their initial setups. After that, teams can manage and set up their own dashboard needs. Breaking rules in DevOps is just as bad as in any traditional IT organization. That's why the processes and controls are still there. The DevOps cultural team or transformation team can help solve cultural resistance, and if that doesn't help, escalation towards the PO and middle management is their solution. And again, monitoring is still very important, so monitor and measure everything you can. So, in conclusion, DevOps starts with everybody. In order for the transformation to be a success, the whole organization needs to work together from upper management to the teams. I suggest reserving 60% of the sprint for the creation of business value, 20% for operational activities, 10% for continuous learning, and 10% for the transformation itself. Of course, these numbers should be adjusted to your business wants and needs. Also remember that DevOps is not only about freedom. Countless studies have shown the effectiveness of DevOps transformations. The 2018 Puppet report shows some very impressive numbers. As an operations manager, I get really happy when I see high-performing organizations that use DevOps that get 96 times faster mean time to repair, for instance, and 5 times lower change failure rate. That's the end of the presentation. Yeah, if you have any questions, please contact us. And thank you for the opportunity to present. And I can now give it back to Coco.
Great. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, Sam, for joining me today. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us today in this webinar. I saw some questions in the question text box. We will follow them up as soon as possible. Have a great day. Bye for now.